and welcome back to Nourishing Roots. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the topic of mental health in a special edition of the Nourishing Roots channel because today is Let's Talk Day. So I thought, what better way for me to share a video with you than to open up about some of my own experiences of mental health and also to try and erase some of the stigma that's currently surrounding being open with certain mental health issues. In particular, I'm going to touch on eating disorders and how, one, that's played a huge role in my life, and also two, how we can help break the stigma around eating disorders so you can get help and ultimately go on to flourish and reach your full potential. Firstly, I'd like to say there is still so much stigma around being open about mental health issues. Whether you've had depression, anxiety, OCD, an eating disorder, or pretty much anything, many of us still keep things under wraps because we don't feel comfortable with placing ourselves in a place of vulnerability when sharing our thoughts and feelings with other people. Now for me, a large part of my teenage years was spent in and out of hospital, visiting lots of medical professionals for anorexia. But even during those times, I never really reached out for help to the people that were closest to me. The only people who really know were really close family members. But even some of my closest friends, I made out that I was actually doing okay, even though deep inside I was really upset and hurting and depressed and anxious and going through all this awful stuff really. But it didn't need to be that way. In fact, looking back, it would have been such an easier process to get help and support if I'd have been more open with my friends, rather than fearing that I'd be negatively judged by them. And that's what I'd kind of want to encourage for you and society in general, that we can just place a lid on the stigma and stop worrying about the blue elephant in the corner of the room, because guaranteed at some point someone or someone close to you will go through a mental health problem. Now, in our society in the UK, over 750,000 people suffer from an eating disorder, and it affects 1.6 million people, whether that be sufferers themselves or their family or their friends. Now, of course, this has a huge cost to society in money terms, but really it has a huge cost to your personal well-being and health. Now, I know all too well that living with an eating disorder for all of your life, or a large part of your life, really isn't any form of living at all. The thing that we need to break stigma down on, though, is that people with eating disorders can come in all different shapes and sizes, and even genders too. They're affected by males and females, and around 25% of cases of some eating disorders are made up by males, so it's definitely not a feminine issue. Also, you don't have to be a certain BMI or underweight to have an eating disorder or to get help for an eating disorder. In fact, you can look a perfectly healthy weight, but you could still be engaging in maladaptive eating behaviours, whether that be being sick, missing meals, or just become really nutrient deficient. Also, it's not just about behaviour. People with eating disorders, it's all about what goes on up here. So the real question is, what's your relationship with food rather than what you look like? I know that in the eating disorder community, there is a lot of stigma around how people can get help based on their weight. So apparently, if you're really skinny and underweight and at death's door, then only then can you get help. But that's simply not true. I thought that for a long time and it prevented me from getting well. But I know now that if I'd have taken steps towards recovery or just reaching out for help, I would have been able to make the process a lot more smoother and a lot more quicker. Don't get me wrong, I don't regret actually going through the process of recovery in the longer way that I did, because at the end of the day, it's made me a stronger person and who I am today. But it would have made me all the more stronger if I'd have reached out for support. And in fact, only when I started reaching out for more support from family and friends and being really honest about how I was feeling and the way that I wanted to live my life, did things really start moving in the right direction. So then, the next question is, how can you get help and support? Well, the way that you can get help and support is firstly being open and honest with those who you're close to and those that you love. You could either reach out to a helpline or someone who understands, whether that's an eating disorder therapist or even a coach like me. So you can reach out online or you could reach out in different social groups. For myself, I found Instagram really helpful at first. Apart from following really negative accounts about things that were negative around eating disorders and not helpful towards recovery. Instead, I followed accounts that were really pro-recovery and from people who really wanted to get well, and they also had very positive message to share. Because at the end of the day, it made me feel like I wasn't alone and that there were other people in the same boat as me. I can guarantee that for you, if you're going through an eating disorder or any other form of mental illness, that you are not alone and that there are other people just like you, suffering like you, who may be afraid to get help. But there are also people who may have once been just like you, who have also gone through the stages of recovery. For example, like myself, I used to think that recovery just wasn't possible and that I'd be one of those statistics who'd get lost in the background and someone who was doomed to suffer from an eating disorder for the rest of her life. But of course, that wasn't true because I'm right here now and I've got a really positive relationship with food. I'm no longer really anxious or depressed, and overall, I feel really happy in my life. But, those things only came about once I reached out for support, gained confidence to get the help that I needed, and really believed that recovery was possible. So to sum up that little video, I'd really like to just say it is time to talk. It's time to talk about how you're feeling. It's time to talk about how you're thinking. And it's time to talk about our relationship with mental health so that we can break down the stigma, get the help we need, and ultimately reach our full potential as the amazing human beings that we are. So if you've liked this video or found it interesting or found a message useful in there, then it would be great if you could like the video or subscribe to this channel, and so we can grow this tribe of individuals who are really passionate about recovery from mental health and promoting a positive relationship with food, body, and our mindset too. It would also be great if you could check out my website at www.nourishingroots.com, where you can find my new book as well as my online coaching, where you can also get help for a range of issues such as eating disorders, anxiety and depression. I really look forward to hearing from you soon, but in the meantime, remember that you are worth recovery and that it's time to reach out to talk about mental health.